Part 3. After the surgery, Avery was clean, but her classmates didn't buy it. Every time they saw her, they still acted like they'd seen the Grim Reaper scrambling to get away as fast as they could. No matter how she tried to explain it, nobody believed her, after all. Linda was still updating her social media account. In the footage she filmed, Avery would still sniff her own armpits, looking absolutely intoxicated, then shove her hand right into other people's faces to see their reaction. That sleazy, repulsive image of Avery was already deeply ingrained in her classmates' minds. Nobody had any interest in investigating a person with such a massive, toxic history, even if she had actually changed. So, even though Avery started washing her hair, showering, and changing her clothing style, her classmates still kept the same distance as before. This was obviously something Avery had never anticipated. It wasn't long before I realized Avery was having mental health issues. She started having hallucinations. "Auntie, can you smell that? The house smells like burning straw. Auntie, smell my room again. Does it smell like smoke?" Avery would grab me and ask over and over again. She was describing things that almost certainly didn't exist, but I wasn't going to tell her the truth. Sometimes I agreed with her, sometimes I denied it. She was completely confused. One day after work, I didn't go back to my parents' place, but headed straight back to my own apartment. As it turned out, I ran into Avery waiting right at my door. She looked incredibly restless, stuttering for a long time, before I finally understood what she meant. She suspected her body odor had returned, and she wanted me to confirm it. I sighed, my tone gentle, but my smile didn't reach my eyes. "I can't really give you a straight answer on this, Avery. Just try to be a little more mindful of it, okay?" I patted her shoulder. My words were incredibly vague, but carried a heavy, lingering implication, coupled with all the groundwork I had laid before. Avery didn't realize her sense of smell was completely broken. Instead, she fully believed my judgment. She genuinely believed her body odor had returned. Avery reverted back to the same unstable state she was in before she got the surgery, but this time it was even worse. Her nerves were shot, and her emotions became violently unpredictable. According to classmates from her school, if someone casually mentioned the words disgusting, stinky, or weirdo, even if they weren't talking about her at all, Avery would automatically assume they were insulting her and would charge over to start a screaming match with them. Before, in everyone else's eyes, Avery was just a weirdo. Now, Avery had become an absolute certified lunatic, and yet Linda was completely in the dark. She was still forcing Avery to act out the body odor scripts. After all, her account still had performers with those specific fetishes. As long as Avery kept showing her face, Linda could keep using her to make money. Finally, one day, Avery couldn't control her emotions anymore and caused a catastrophic disaster. The trigger was her language arts teacher, who was pregnant. Because it was still early in the pregnancy, she hadn't announced it yet. Pregnant women get terrible morning sickness. Unable to hold it back, she dry-heaved right in the middle of class. The other students thought the teacher was sick, and all rushed forward to ask if she was okay. But Avery was convinced the teacher was targeting her. She shoved through the crowd and slammed her body directly into the teacher. Knocking her to the ground wasn't enough. She actually mounted the teacher, punching her over and over again. While she beat her, she screamed, "What the hell is your problem? Do you think I stink? You're just a dramatic bitch. You're a pathetic bitch." By the time the students ganged to work together and drag the hysterical Avery off, the language arts teacher was already clutching her stomach in agony, unable to speak. In the end, the teacher lost her baby. This time, the school and the teacher refused to let it go. Avery had caused trouble time and time again. The principal was completely out of patience. The language arts teacher actually came from a wealthy family, and only chose to become a teacher because she genuinely loved education. She never expected to encounter something like this so soon after the semester started. Both sides were incredibly firm. They absolutely insisted on severe punishment for Avery. This time Linda was completely out of options. She couldn't bear to pay compensation, but she refused to admit fault. She tried to pull out her old routine about discriminating against body odor patients and threatened to expose them on social media. However, this time her master plan completely backfired because I went into her comment section and exposed her, revealing that she forced Avery to fake having body odor. Those fans with special fetishes, on Linda's account, once they found out Avery no longer had body odor, unfollowed her in droves. Some people even sent her threatening DMs. They accused the mother and daughter of teaming up to play with their feelings, and swore they were going to teach them a lesson. Seeing that she could no longer exploit the public's sympathy, she set her sights on me again. "Little sister, you're a teacher at the school. Go apologize on behalf of our Avery, and use your salary to compensate them. Your colleagues, they won't do anything to you." I was so angry I wanted to laugh. Even now, Linda was still living in an absolute fantasy. I told them my measly salary wouldn't mean anything to them. I told them to hurry up and sell their house. If they waited too long, it might be too late. Linda wanted me to sell my house instead and even dragged my mom over to try and convince me, but no matter what they said, I absolutely refused to budge. In the end, Linda had no choice but to sell her house to gather the money because they paid a massive settlement, and the language arts teacher softened her stance. The school ultimately didn't pursue criminal charges against Avery, but Avery could no longer stay at that school. The semester had barely started, and Avery had already caused too many disasters. Her reputation was completely ruined. Maybe because she realized this, she absolutely refused to go back to school. I said, "I'm not going back. I have body odor. If I go, everyone will laugh at me." Avery screamed at Linda. Linda was dumbfounded. They had already done the surgery, so how could she still have body odor? But everyone else couldn't smell. On thing. Only Avery herself could smell it. She took Avery to the hospital again. In the end, the doctor diagnosed that Avery was suffering from phantosmia. This symptom is typically triggered by severe anxiety. The doctor prescribed anti-anxiety medication and told Avery to take it on schedule. She was taken back home by Linda, suspended from school to recover, but Avery, who couldn't make money anymore and was dealing with mental illness, became nothing but a burden in Linda's eyes. Linda stopped being nice to her. She constantly made sarcastic, cruel remarks to Avery. People with psychological issues need understanding and love from their family more than anything. But Linda didn't care, so even though she was taking her medication, Avery's condition didn't improve at all. For a very long time, I completely stopped paying attention to that mother and daughter. I was busy studying for my master's entrance exams. In my past life, I poured all my energy, Avery, and completely neglected my own personal growth. The further I got into my career, the more I realized my knowledge base needed updating. But back then, I was stretched way too thin, so after I was reborn, I made up my mind to get my master's degree. One night, while I was studying at home, I unexpectedly got a call from my family. On the phone, my mom's voice was choking with sobs. She told me Linda had been stabbed. By the time I rushed to the hospital, what I saw was her corpse covered by a white sheet. It turned out, Linda had been tracked down by one of those male fans from before. He said he was going to teach her a lesson, and he actually followed through. Faced with a fan demanding an explanation, Linda didn't show a single ounce of caution. Instead, she mocked him, calling him a shameless pervert. In the end, the male fan pulled out a knife hidden in his coat and stabbed Linda straight through. Avery was there when it happened, but thanks to some bystanders stepping in, she miraculously managed to escape. Witnessing Linda's death, Avery's mind was pushed past the breaking point once again. In addition to the phantosmia, she started experiencing auditory and visual hallucinations. The doctor said she had developed schizophrenia. This illness is incredibly difficult to treat. Without Linda around, my brother had zero interest in taking care of his daughter. He just dumped her in a psychiatric hospital, leaving her there to rot. My mom was too old and didn't have the energy to take care of Avery either. After Linda died, he started frequently showing up at the local matchmaking corners, asking people to set him up with a new girlfriend. A year passed. Avery was no longer brought up in our conversations. She was slowly forgotten by everyone. And within that year, I successfully got into my master's program. September was the start of the graduate semester. I quit my job and prepared to head south for enrollment. Before leaving home, I went to the psychiatric hospital to see Avery. She was vacant, and the light in her eyes was entirely gone. She didn't recognize me. She just grabbed me and kept asking over and over again if she still smelled bad. I pulled my hand free. I didn't say a word. As I walked out of the psychiatric hospital, the sun was beginning to set. The white hospital wards were slowly swallowed by the shadows of the night, but I was walking straight toward the light.